All right, good evening, folks. Darcy should be jumping on here any second. I just got done texting her here, so she said she's trying to connect. Um, while we're waiting for her to connect, I do want to say, Mark, that I am sorry I spelt your name wrong on the endorsement graphic, but I will fix that and have that fixed tonight. So um, just wanted to let you know on that. This will be our last space. There she is. She's on here. Hold on, let me invite you there. All right, Darcy, I sent you an invite. You should be a co host. Are you a co host? There you go. All right, let's go ahead and get started now that the lady of the hour is on here. So, my name is Trent Lacey, and I am a volunteer for Darcy's campaign. Um, Darcy's an amazing person who's got a great heart for the Republican Party, has a beautiful heart for children, and has a lot of passion, which has driven me to want to volunteer for her campaign. So basically, the way we'll kind of do this is like we've done before in the past, which is Darcy just will kind of give a little brief interview, I guess, of who she is, and then if anybody has any questions, please just raise your hand. And if you don't know how to raise your hand, then just, I guess, step in. If you want to be a speaker, send me an invite for to be a speaker. Um, or you can drop it in the chat if you don't know how to do that, and I can add you as a speaker. So, with that, Darcy, I will turn this over to you and let you get started.
Thanks, Trent, and thanks everyone who's here tonight. As Trent said, we've had several of these calls, so it's been really great over the last several weeks, kind of breaking out into these smaller groups and just asking everyone or answering everyone's questions and talking about your vision for the Colorado GOP. For those of you who don't know, my name is Darcy Schoening, and I am the current director of special initiatives for the Colorado GOP. I'm running to be chair. I declared over 2 months ago now because I feel that, I've been putting in the work. I've been going all around the state as director of special initiatives. My primary goal was to write policy for local school boards, city councils, and county commissions to help them push policy that protected them from polis and the overreach of the state legislature. So piece by piece, I was able to talk to these localities and just protect, sections of the population throughout Colorado. Whether we're talking about a school district, I opted out dozens of school districts from the pronoun bill that was passed last year, as well as dozens of counties and cities from the Safe Spaces gun law. I don't believe that, policy stops at the state level. We have to continue fighting for local communities and doing what's right for, the most basic part of our communities, which is our children. And if we don't agree on that as a party, that our children are innocent, we have to come together to protect them, then I don't really know what we're doing. So I created the Bob Initiative, Build Our Benches, which is an initiative that I've raised almost $200,000 now for the 2025 school board races. A lot of the candidates and elected officials are talking about the 2026 elections, but we can't forget that we have the school board elections coming up. So I've really enjoyed growing my relationships with the donors. They're the same donors actually that are funding this election, and some of the same donors that saved the centennial dinner event. So it's really important that we work with them closely to build donor confidence and really build our benches for candidates and fundraise to get candidates elected. So that initiative is going to be really important. I expect that to be at least double by summer, and then we'll flip more school board seats and hold on to our really important seats. And then going into 2026, I know we're going to have so much momentum and so much confidence with the donors, the volunteers, the activists. I've already got a candidate recruitment tool out, so I'm recruiting good candidates early and often. As a matter of fact, I've got 2 candidates already that have come forward because of that tool my team has built. We've identified candidates for 2 districts that did not have candidates in the previous cycle. So we're going to make sure that we're bringing good candidates forward. Um, Data and infrastructure, I did notice during the last cycle that there was just no infrastructure there. Nobody's built anything over the years. So, there was nothing from like just basic spreadsheets. People have just, I think, after every administration, just erased the data that they've never worked on a continuous system. So, I want to put data and infrastructure and processes in place that can be repeated from one candidate to another, but also one administration to another, and really try to foolproof the machine that we know as Colorado elections. So, to all of that to say that my goals as chair to get candidates elected, to raise money to get candidates elected, to advance our values across the state. I do think that it's important that as the Colorado GOP, because we're in a blue state, if you haven't heard me say it enough, we have to really focus a lot on local just as much as state and national, because the way that the lines are drawn in Colorado, Denver and Boulder, they're the vast majority of the population we can't allow them to control the entire state. We've got rural communities and we've got conservative communities like Castle Rock that they don't want to live the way that Denver lives. So it's really important that we continue to work with those localities and prop those localities up, and also work with our counties and empower our counties to, like, we don't even over half the counties don't have websites. So that's a really easy fix that goes along with infrastructure, but we need to be working with the counties to see what they need, not to necessarily tell them what to do. That's not really any interest to me. But we want to empower them with the tools that they need to help get candidates elected and to help push good local policy. And it's that good local policy that's a big part of our messaging. So people like to say, how do we engage the unaffiliated? How do we engage the Hispanic community? How do we bring young people over? Well, it's not by running out into the streets and yelling about social issues and all the protests and all the things. Those things are great, but it's about showing average everyday people what it looks like to be a Republican. Our conservative communities that I just mentioned, they live better, they have lower crime, they have better schools, better test scores, they're cleaner, they're safer. And so when we meet people in their communities where they are, and we share that message of this is what it looks like to be a Republican, then we bring people to our side and we get more people to register as Republican. We get more precinct leaders. We don't do that by allowing the unaffiliateds to vote in our primaries. Our values are good, our principles are good, and they're solid. And if we stand on those, then we close our primaries, we get good conservative candidates elected, we increase donor confidence. But we have to do all of these things and we have to work together to do them. And only when we do those things do we have the ever talked about unity. We're never going to be totally unified. We all have distinct personalities, but that is unity, all working in the same direction. So, as a leader, I hope that I've provided, even just tonight, some very clear goals of what I plan to be working on day one of my administration with my team, but also the clear goals and directives that I plan to set for the rest of the party so that we can really maximize the people that we have to help win elections and turn the state conservative again. So, with that, I will turn that back over to Trent. I've blabbed on and on. I do want to hear what some of you guys have to say. It's not really about me, it's about you guys. So, yeah, Trent.
Yeah, hey, thanks, Darcy. And I've sent a few of you guys requests to be speakers, so If you get that and you want to be a speaker, please accept that. And if you did not get one but want to speak, just send me a request and I will add you as a speaker. So we've got less than a week to go. Next Saturday, this coming Saturday, the 29th, we'll have a new chair for the Colorado GOP. And can you kind of walk through like what's going to take place Friday and then Saturday? We've had this Bannon event moved to a couple different venues, and one of your donors stepped up and is having it at his facility. So can you just kind of fill everybody in on that?
Yeah, so the Bannon Event Centennial Dinner is an annual fundraiser for Republicans. The last one that was done by the state GOP was Kerry Lake 2 years ago in Loveland. So everyone was really excited about Bannon, but of course it got canceled in Denver because the left, was threatening the hotel, the front desk. It just got totally crazy. So it was moved to the Antlers, and then the Antlers assured everybody that it wouldn't be canceled there, but it was. So, yeah, the Boot Barn was offered by one of my friends. It'll be there. So that's North Colorado Springs, which is the exit just south of my house. It's the North Gate exit. So for those coming from north, it's really easy to get to. It's a more laid back venue. So I know some people are planning to do, dressy, and then some people are planning to do the more Western theme that they have, but it'll be a good night. Myself and another candidate, or looks like we're going to go ahead and do a meet and greet before this event. But right next door at the same donor owns the restaurant next door, so it looks like we're going to do something over there, but more details on that in the coming probably 48 hours. And then the next morning at Radiant Church is the election. That's the 29th. So you can either go to the church or you can do it hybrid. And that will be the reorganizational meeting at 9 o'clock where you'll vote for new leadership.
All right, that's great. So if there's anybody on here that want to be speakers, please send an invite. I'll add you. Um, so what do okay, Saturday comes, the vote comes. What are you going to do if you win as chair, which I hope you do, to bring, all sides of the party to work in that common direction? Because obviously I don't think it matters who wins on Saturday in terms of there's still going to be division in the party. And so, what does that look like for you? I mean, you're going to have, Britta Horn, and you got these other candidates who are running, Lori and those. So how are you going to bring those folks together to say, hey, look, we're all the Republicans. Let's fight for the common goal and move forward.
Well, I mean, as I said earlier, those goals have to be clearly defined. And I believe I've defined most of them on this call here tonight. And I would ask people the same question. It's like I keep saying, the people that call me the most and say, oh, I've got a problem with this person or this is going on. I'm like, what like actual work have you done for the Republican Party lately? Like, what have you done to help get Republicans elected? And I think that's the question that we have to keep asking. And as I've said on several of these calls, we can't just ignore issues as they come up. And I know that that sounds silly and it sounds kind of like, oh, you're, managing a store at the mall. But when people are arguing on whether it's on Facebook or whether it's at a meeting or it's just an ongoing thing, we have to start looking at that from a human aspect, just like we have to look at the party from a human aspect. Everybody has different skills, everybody has different issues, everybody comes to the table with, 20 to 90 years that have nothing to do with me or you. So we have to take that into account, and we have to work together by using each other's skills and by filling in where some of us have weaknesses. I'm good at seeing the big picture, all the moving pieces, strategy, getting candidates elected. I'm not the greatest at building spreadsheets. I've had to do it, but that's not my strength. There's other people that are really, really great about it. And that's what can make us great as a party if we do it right, is bringing everybody to the table and using their skills, making them feel like they're not only are their skills valued, but their opinions are valued because there's a place for everybody in the party. So, well, 99.99% of people, there are some people that have to be removed, unfortunately, but there's a place for almost everybody. And as leaders, we have to find those places and we have to help them move our party forward. If we were talking about um, a store, an organization, again, it's about empowering our employees, empowering our volunteers, our activists, our candidates, our elected officials, and our counties. It's about giving them the tools that they need to succeed and help getting candidates elected. So that's as close to unity as we could possibly get.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we live in a very divided Republican Party in Colorado, and what's funny is both sides talk about unity, but yet unity is only what they believe unity is. And so I'm really tired of the word unity. I think it's a chewed up word and spit out. I just think it's, finding that 80% that we can agree on and moving forward on it. So I appreciate your insight on that. Rocky Mountain, if you want to go ahead and go.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate the time tonight. Um, I I was curious. If I recall, I think you announced that you were running in early January, and here we are getting into toward the end of March, and I follow you on Facebook and stuff like that, and I do support you. But I was curious, and I don't think that we've ever had an opportunity to talk about this, but what's one of the biggest takeaways you have found in all of your conversations and meetings along the different counties? What's the one thing that's really stood out to you as a commonality amongst all of your visits?
Thanks for that question. I would say probably that the counties feel largely discombobulated instead of feeling like they're, a bracket on part of this machine. They sort of feel like they're out in nowheresville. And I think that that's been an ongoing issue for decades. So it's just about building a structure and having leadership that consistently is reaching out to those counties. And like I said earlier, providing those counties support. I heard from several people on the Western Slope that they feel neglected. I've heard that over the years. They're like, why don't we ever have events out here? And it's easy to say, well, why is that important? But to them it is. I mean, we enjoy Capital Club. Um, I've been managing Capital Club for over a year now, and people love to come together every month or two to have a nice lunch and talk to electeds and just have like an intimate gathering where we talk about Republicans in Colorado. And we don't do stuff like that on the Western Slope, let alone, the ongoing candidate engagement out there. So it's outreach to the counties, and that's going to be one of the things that I'm working on from day one, to rebuild that trust with the counties that just hasn't been a part of the structure for a long time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting is that there's a lot of counties in Colorado that don't even have websites, and you don't even know how to get a hold of them. Especially on the Eastern Plains, and so, I've talked to county chairs out there who, they they want to see a more centralized communication coming from the state party, whether that's they have sub pages, landing pages for each county coming off of that, or a centralized calendar where other counties can look at and see what other Lincoln Day dinners there are, because there's some people that like to travel
Yeah.
throughout the state and go to different Lincoln Day dinners and stuff. So
And there's
um,
electeds. There's electeds that I had an
yes.
elected official call me this morning and say, "Hey Darcy, can I get a list of all the Lincoln Day dinners?" And I'm like, "What? Well, there's not one. My team has sort of assembled one, but there's not one that exists. So no, it's a huge deal to have that back and forth communication, and then the county websites and the infrastructure that goes back and forth as a communication tool.
Yeah. Well, that's great. If you have a question, please unmute yourself there. Kurt, it looks like you have a question to ask.
Sure, thanks. Appreciate it. Trent, Darcy, thanks for doing this. Um,
Thank
could you
you.
just spend a minute or two talking about your plans for fundraising?
Sure. So, currently, that's one of the things that I do for the Colorado GOP, and it's one of my roles that has been ongoing in the Republican Party in Colorado. So, I have, as I've already demonstrated, a really good donor outreach program that has already raised almost $200,000 for the 2025 school board races. It's just about bringing the donors on board and showing them a solid plan, a solid infrastructure, and then closing the gap in November and winning some races in the school board elections. As I said earlier, that'll build the donor confidence, whether we're talking about large donors or whether we're talking about micro donors. But going into 2026, that's how we raise even more funds for our candidates. So yeah, it's just about, like I said, building a process and then building on that and building the donor confidence and just keeping that momentum going. And as a party, taking that money and investing it in the candidates. The money that we get from donors should be used for candidates and to keep the lights on. And that's really it. So if we are doing those things, then we will get Republican candidates elected. So thank you.
Well, and that's what's key. I mean, you've got a lot of great relationships throughout the state, and some who you've introduced me to, who I then in turn was able to help. As well on the national level. And so, I know firsthand, the connections that you have. So I'm confident that, we can, with you at the helm, we can raise a lot of money at the party and try to flip some of these seats. Because what people don't understand is that 2026 is not going to be an easy year for Republicans. And people think it is, and it's not. And, the midterms are never good for the sitting president in history. And I think it may be a little bit different this time, but you're not going to have that Trump bump like we did in 24. So the seats that we barely flipped just by a few votes, those are going to be tough races to hold on to. And you've got all your statewide races coming up here. So, we need to be able to really grow the donor confidence. And I think by doing your Bob initiative and working on the school board races and showing donors that, we can really fine tune and target certain areas and really help. Because it's not that, and I want to make clear, you're not advocating that the state party take the lead on this. It's more or less you want to go in and help school districts and help the communities find good candidates and then figure out a way that you can support the community or the state party can support the community on getting those school board candidates elected. And then obviously, because it's all about trust and verifying and seeing firsthand that, the money they're putting in. Because look, Trump was successful at destroying the Republican Party several years ago, right? I mean, he said, don't donate to them, donate to me. And so, we have to be able to do the same thing and to show trust in these donors and say, look, we will actually use your money the way that we believe and you believe that the money should be used. So thank you for that. Rob, go ahead. You've had your hand up there.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Thanks for the opportunity to chat. I'm really encouraged that you mentioned the Western Slope. I'm a fifth generation native of our great state, and I can't help but find myself recently pondering where we should go in the light of kind of where we're at in the legislature and the uniparty, as it's been called. And so I'm kind of the middle of the road of younger generation, but the older generation, I'm a Xenial, so I appreciate using a platform like Twitter. But what I might like to hear about is kind of the plan for an on ramp for some of us younger folks that really want to participate and be a part of keeping our state as great as it is. But what would you have for framework, or what is your plan for framework for one, for making sure that Mesa County, that's just where I'm at, doesn't get lost, because boy, is it a hard, we're on the ropes over here in Mesa County, and we could definitely use some attention. But also the on ramp for some of us that are new to this conversation, and maybe this arena as a whole. But what framework and what plans do you have to help some of us up and comers join in the efforts? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the question. So, as I just mentioned, to answer part of your question, that Western Slope outreach and Eastern Plains outreach is so important. I mean, we can't just run the party from the Front Range. So, not just the outreach, but the data, the processes that we go about, giving the precinct leaders their data. And so, to get to that point, precinct leaders, district captains, whoever we're bringing on at that early level, I would like to call it, you could refer to it to like the candidate go bags, or I don't even know what you would compare it to, but when you become a precinct leader, you should be shown, here's where you get these lists, here's where you find this data, here are helpful videos. And that comes by way of emails and instructions and meetings. Here's where, this place at this time. But there's so many ways to answer that question, Rob, because like I said a second ago, or like Trent and I were just talking about, that calendar, like that outreach of what's going on in your area. Not just is there a Lincoln Day dinner, but what's going on with your city council? What conservative outreach groups are meeting this month? So we as a state party, as I continue to reiterate, that is our job, is to provide that information and those resources, whether you're new or whether, you've been at the party for 90 years. So the on ramp to me looks like as if you were a new candidate and you didn't know much. It's providing everything at your fingertips that you need to succeed, but not making decisions or running campaigns or, running issues for you. So thank you.
Does that hit on what you were expecting, Rob?
Yeah, and I don't so much necessarily mean new to the party. I mean, I've been with you
Yeah.
guys. We're five generations in with you guys. But I just more so mean, getting involved and really ready for action. Not only myself, but I have quite a few peers that are, kind of on the sidelines, going, okay, where's the starting point? And that might be part of it that's difficult, but
Yeah.
also just the generational gap of, as we show up, some of us younger guys aren't necessarily received well. So maybe that could be part of the conversations as well.
Oh, I've lived through that. I know exactly what you mean. We've got to cut through a lot of that old guard in the not just the counties, but the organizations as well. Because I've said it before. Most young people, if they showed up for these meetings on a Saturday morning, they would be like, "Why am I here? Like these people don't represent me." So yeah, that's another long conversation, but we've got to, as I continue to say, meet the voters where they're at. And the younger voters are part of that.
Rob, are you tied into like young Republicans or any of the younger crowd groups?
No, not specifically. I mean, I'm a kid of the early '80s, so I'm not super young, but at the same time, um, we're trying to just find that starting point. And so I have had some really good mentors. Phil Vaughn, I actually used to work with in the oil and gas industry, and so he was at one point a mentor. But that's the kind of thinking that I'm having is some sort of a framework that has those of us that are raising our hands saying we're willing to help, but maybe some framework that is a little better received. So I'm not sure. I'm kind of brainstorming, and I appreciate you guys entertaining that and kind of where those starting points might be. So thank you. And I'm not sure exactly yet. So
No, I mean, I appreciate that. And that's how we get to a good point with the different groups, the different counties, is just by talking about it. So when I'm elected, I look forward to speaking with you about that more and figuring out some of these things.
Hey, Darcy, can you hear
Yes.
me? Hey, it's Mark
Yes.
McAllister.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Rob, I'm here in Mesa County with you, and you're right about the young Republicans getting involved. I recently worked very hard to get a young Republican seated on the Mesa County Republican Board. His name's Jason Bias, and he happens to be the president of Turning Point USA at the local university here at CMU. So I'd like to get you in contact with him so you can meet up with people of more of your age group and bring more young people into the fold. So if I could get your contact information at the end of this, I would definitely get you involved and see if we can get you moved forward into some of what Darcy was talking about, like precinct captains or district captains involved in caucuses and getting you into the fold. You're right. A lot of the old guard don't want us in. They don't want the younger guys in because they don't want us to change anything. But if the party's going to continue to grow, they've got to accept that, and we're having success there. So we're definitely not going to turn young people away. So I'll just make sure I get your contact information. And then one thing, Darcy, I wanted to talk about. I messaged you a minute ago about local elections are very important. And here in the city of Grand Junction, we have 4 city council seats that are ready to be flipped. And I'd reached out to the state party, 6-8 weeks ago about them providing funds for a local ad that would be more an op-ed against the current city council, who's very left, and the actions that they've done that's created this opportunity for us to take these seats back. I think that's real important that the state party does get involved and target certain elections in rural Colorado. Mesa County as a whole, we have all of the commissioner seats. We have all but one of the school board seats, so we're very red here, but we'd like to keep it that way. So the help getting the city council back would be great. So that's all I got to say about that for now.
Mark, when you said you reached out to the state party, did you get anything back from them?
I did. Dave said he would reach out and see if they have funds available and what that looked like. And then I bounced back a couple more texts, and now we're up to April 8th is the election, so we're up against the wall and too late to do anything in regards to that. And I understand the state parties had some issues that they've been fighting here. And I'm on the side of that. I appreciate everything the state party's done, but I just think that the state party needs to be more involved, as Darcy said, in these local races to make sure we win it, because that's how we win Colorado back. One county, one city at a time. So yeah, I did not get the response that I wanted back, or a final response saying yes or no. So, but like I said, at this point, it's too late.
Well, I mean, that's unfortunate, but hopefully you'll be able to flip at least one or two of those seats, hopefully. So Darcy dropped off as a co-host, but I just resent you the deal. There you go, Darcy.
All right, sorry, I cut out for a second.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, hopefully next time, but I appreciate your enthusiasm for working with the state party on local elections. That's going to be really important. As you said, that's literally how we take the state back.
Yes. And
Agreed.
like I said earlier, oh, go ahead.
I think we will take at least 3 of these 4 seats back, which would be really nice because the city's done they've tried to turn Grand Junction downtown into small downtown Denver and made everything bike lanes where you cannot drive a vehicle downtown anymore. So the locals are very upset about that. And so it's a great opportunity for us to capitalize on their mistakes. And we've out fundraised them in a huge manner. I mean, the total dollars raised right now is around $108,000, and 90,000 of that's all on the Republican side. So I could see victories coming here, but I think the state party really does need to target certain races and help the counties with those races. And that's all communication. I think a lot of it, the rural counties say, well, the state doesn't care about us, like Darcy was saying, that we don't exist, right? That's how they feel. And that's communication from the state party reaching out and saying, what can we do for your county today? What's important to you? So we've got to have that line of communication reopened so we can stop a lot of the division. I mean, the half of the Mesa County Republican group here has a bone to pick with the state party, right? And that shouldn't be that way if we had open communication. The other half of us are fighting with Darcy and on the other side. So we've got to take care of that division, and we do that through communication.
Thank you. We do.
Mark, did you guys have a good Lincoln Day dinner yesterday? Were you able to make it?
I did. We did go, and it was a great dinner. It really was. We had Harriet Hagerman from Wyoming, who's a congresswoman, and Jeff Hurd speak, and it was a really good event. We had no candidates for chair speak. There was no one that stepped up to speak. In fact, there wasn't a candidate there, was there, babe? No, we didn't even have a candidate there, Darcy. So
No,
yeah, for
I
state
feel
chair.
so bad.
Nope. So don't feel bad about that at all. So we had a good evening out. So no, it
Good.
was all good. So, and like I said, I was ready to speak on your behalf if that opportunity presented itself, but it didn't. So
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate you.
you bet. And I saw, I-70 was shut down last night. It was closed. So I'm glad that you
I
didn't even
know.
come. So
I probably made the right call.
yes, you definitely made the right call. So
Yeah, she called and she's like, it's snowing a lot. And I'm like, oh, you're fine. You've got that weird Chevy vehicle. You can make it. So
right. Right. How do I get Robert my contact information so I can get him at least in touch with Jason Bias and some of the younger people that are getting involved with the party?
So if you guys accept each other's follow request, then it should allow you to direct message each other. If it doesn't, you can always just send it to Darcy or myself personally through X, and we can connect you guys. But you should be able to follow each other on your follow requests and then be able to send each other your contact information.
Gotcha. This is my first time on X. My wife had to set it up, so I'm learning new things here.
Well, good. Well, now you're a young guy
Yeah.
now again. So, all right, Rocky
Right.
Mountain.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I kind of had a follow up to the question on build our benches initiative, and this kind of goes back to the local races stuff. So, what happens? Because I know you've got about $200,000 in pledges from donors, and when I think of just even just school board races, like $5,000 to $10,000 in a reasonably sized school district, I'd say small to medium size, can be a huge difference. And so my question was, what happens to those donors if you were not to be successful?
Good question. My assumption would be they just go away. The donors that I work with are excited for me to be chair. They're not excited for any other candidate to be chair. And I've worked with these people for years. So it doesn't really work that way that my fundraising efforts go to a leadership if somebody else was elected. Now, I would stand behind any chair that's elected, and I will, literally work with whoever. But as far as donors go and build our benches, that's something that's unique to me. I mean, these are people that when I said I'm running for chair, they said, okay, come pick up checks. How can we get involved? What can we do? We're excited. So these are just my donors. So that doesn't go, they don't go with the party.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Hope's on deck there if you want to go ahead and ask your question.
Yes, I thank you so much, you guys, for having this. And first and foremost, thanks, Trent, for hosting, Darcy, for being on X Space. This is always a great place for the younger generation to get involved. And I do see that Lyle is there. And I heard a lot of questions about how we're going to get younger people involved. Um, so I wanted to kind of expand on that. Darcy, do you have any additional information how we can get the younger generation involved? Because I know Lyle is the vice chair for Fremont County, and he's 18, 19, 19, I think. And so I think that's amazing. I think we need younger people to be stepping up into these officer chairs. And so, what is your vision on seeing um, those younger kids jumping in, being more excited?
Thanks, Hope, and thanks for being on this call. So I think on a previous call, Lyle and I kind of went back and forth on this a little and brainstormed some, and I'm glad he's here again because he may want to speak to that a little. But it's several different things. It's like everything else. There's no one size fits all. Our message as Republicans is good, as I've continued to reiterate on this call. We've got better communities. We have everything in our communities is going better. But the message to our youth, to the younger generation, they don't always identify with what the quote unquote old guard or, the middle of the road Republicans may identify with. I like to tell the story of back in 2022 when we brought a friend to the Lincoln Day dinner who was, I think, 19 years old. And, he's grateful that we brought him, but he was like, I mean, can I please leave? Like, this is not my thing. And I get that. I mean, the sitting at tables and Lincoln Day dinners and Sunday morning breakfasts with muffins and the same elected officials. I mean, that's great. That has been the backbone of our party for so long. But we have to meet, as I've continued to reiterate, we have to meet the voters where they are. So where are these kids? Look, the Democrats are amazing at going into the places where teenagers and college kids are. They're going into the colleges. They're going into the community centers, the rec centers. They're going to the parks where the kids hang out. They're going to the high schools. I mean, they're recruiting people to be Democrats when they're 16, 17, 18 years old. So, as I said when I started out my long rant like I normally do, there's so many things that we have to be doing to recruit the younger generation, and it's no one size fits all, but it's just doing all those things. So thank you. And Lila, if you have anything to add or counteract or whatever, feel free, and or Hope. I don't have all the answers, but one of the ways that I believe that we recruit the younger generation is by working with the younger generation. So people like Lyle, people like Joel, people like Colby, all these young Republicans that want to get involved, it's they've got skills that we don't have. I can't make a TikTok video. I'm sure Lyle can just churn them out. So not that that's his only skill, but we have got to empower those kids, empower the younger generation, just like I said on all these calls. Local autonomy, empowering our activists, empowering our candidates, everybody, and same with the younger generation. We don't want to push them out and make them, fit into the Saturday morning 9 a.m. muffin crowd. We've got to meet them where they're at.
Yeah, and hey, Lyle, I did send you a speaker request. I don't know if you got it. If you have anything you want to add, please jump in at any time. Yeah, and I think that's key. I mean, I will say, what I've seen over the last few years is, you know, who's really, I guess, creating a culture for the young Republicans to come up. And I feel like that's more of the elected officials, just because a lot of these people are interns, and so they go down to the Capitol and then they build that relationship with that person, and they don't really get outside of that box. And I think it's important to get them outside of that box and show them that, you know, that there's more to the party than just being an intern at the state capitol for an elected official. And so, in my when I've talked to young Republicans, and I say, hey, what's your involvement into the party? That's what they say. Well, I go down, I intern, and that's all I do. And so I really think that the state party really needs to take a role in strengthening their relationship with the young Republicans and really bringing them in and giving them a voice. And because we do need to create a culture and environment for more younger folks to get in, because I mean, they're going to run this party soon, probably sooner than later. And it's important to do that. Go ahead, Hope, if you got another thing to add, and then Lyle, love to hear from you as well.
Yeah, and I agree with what you just said. And I think when I ran for the first time for vice chair, I said the same thing that Darcy has been stating, is meet the voter where they're at. And that's when I was having conversations with the SCC members. So here's an interesting story, y'all. I was actually at the gas station this morning about 9:45-ish before going to the hardware store. And my husband and I were just chatting. We're filling up his old FJ. And here comes this gentleman in this crazy looking Jeep. And my husband's like, oh my gosh, he's got this stuff on there that I'd like to talk to him about. So I'm filling up the gas for him. And the guy is young. He's 22 years old. And so Steve was just communicating with him, and he's like, oh my God, you're a Republican? Well, come meet my wife. She's the vice chair for the Colorado GOP. Well, lo and behold, we have somebody here right within our neighborhood that is definitely somebody that can be a part of the local GOP here. He wants to be involved. He has been, this has been a desire for him. He has been reaching out to the GOP here in my county and has not been getting any callbacks. And so I ended up plugging him in with a couple of people. But that's the beauty of this, is even if you're at the grocery store, if you're at the gym, have those conversations. Heck, Trump is doing the same thing right now. He's bringing in a lot of younger people for the same reason. I mean, look at Elon Musk. He's got kids that are, going through everything for Doge and going through all those um, things meticulously. Younger generation want to be involved now because of President Trump. And that's the beauty of it. And we have to really understand that there's going to be a lot of people that want to be engaged in this. So I guess my question to Darcy would be, can you give me one example where where you can implement what you do right now? Because I know you do a great job at what you do. Can you give me an example of what you would implement within the first 100 days? Let's just do that, like what everybody asked President Trump. And how can you engage those younger kids? And I hate saying kids because I'm 48 and I still feel like I'm young, but how are you going to get those younger people engaged right now within your first 100 days?
Darcy, are you still there?
Oh, sorry, I was on mute for some reason. So, thank you, Hope. So, I I have laid out what the first 100 days of my administration would look like. It's going in, building that infrastructure, getting all of those processes solidified. But, as I've said from day one, and as you just reiterated, it's about meeting voters in their communities. But let's take it a step further. And I think I discussed this on a prior call with Lyle. It's I don't know all of the answers. So our young Republicans are the perfect way to figure out exactly how we are engaging in the communities. I mean, you and I both can look on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram all day long and see them at their parties, and they're going to the bar, and they've got like 30 young people at a bar in Colorado Springs on a Thursday night talking about Republican values. Well, we need to bring some of them into the organization, because what better way to connect with those voters by bringing those voters in. So the comms team, for example, I've continued to say, I'm a really fiery person, so I can send an email, or I can go on the news and I could use the wrong word and totally skew the GOP's message just with one simple misstep. So you get 5 or 6 people looking at your messages before they go out, making sure that they sound great. Or if you're doing outreach, make sure that we're checking with the young Republicans, checking with Lyle, checking with Joel, to whoever we've brought into our organization, to say, look, this is what this should look like. This is where my peers are. This is what they're saying. That I don't know any other way to get that data other than directly from those young people. So we've got to engage them in order to bring them into our party.
Thank you so much. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Lyle, do you have anything to add? Because your insight is much needed
Yeah,
here.
I'll talk. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir, we can.
Okay. So, for those that don't know, I also chair the Fremont County Young Republicans, and I was previously the state chair of the High School Republicans. And I myself have not figured out the answer on how to get these young people involved, because it is very hard to do. They think of politics and they think, why would you want to do that? It's so divisive. And I thought the same thing, but I clicked on immediately, and I absolutely love what I do, thankfully. So I guess God had his plans for me. I think one of the biggest things we can do is having social media and having a website. That's like the number one thing we can do. And we have to have a message on them that really clicks with them. And I don't know what that looks like, but that's something that we really as a party need to work on with outreach. And maybe connecting more with the high school Republicans, young Republicans, and strengthening our relationship with the state party, I think would help with that. What that looks like, I don't know.
Definitely. We need to be, yeah.
Sorry. Hey, it's Mark McAllister again. Sorry, I don't know how to raise my hand on this thing. So, um, back to this question here. The young Republicans at CMU, the Turning Point USA group, there's only 5 of them. And they're having what is his name? Jared Taylor come and speak, who's a controversial speaker. And the universities kind of came out and said, well, this guy's racist. He's really not. They're trying to shut down free speech at the college. This is the type of thing I would expect the state party to step in and say, hey, how can we support a small group that's a small group of 5 Republicans that are, pushing capitalism, pushing our way of life? How does the state party get involved that way? Is there funding available that we can give them to put out flyers about the Republican Party? What our message is? I think we have to grow from the college, just like the Democrats are going to the high schools, the colleges. This is a perfect opportunity to take a group of 5 kids and help them blossom by having people from the state party come over, hold events at the university, or help support them in those events. What does that look like for you? And is that something that you're willing to get involved with as a chairwoman?
Well, if you have followed me at all the last couple of years, then I think you probably know the answer to that question. There's nothing that we shouldn't know about and at least have our pulse on. But to me, that's the perfect example of something that very easily, with the click of a button, with an email, we could put some attention around, fundraise some money for them. If we send an email from the Colorado GOP to the big distribution list that said, look what this group is doing, show a video of them, a button for fundraising that goes straight to an account for them, because that's really, really easy to do. I think people would respond overwhelmingly. And then you get media on them, you get Kyle Clark talking about it, or whoever. And then that just totally adds more momentum to their cause. So definitely the state party should be getting involved, and by and large it's really easy to do. So I look forward to people coming with all of those issues around the state and being able to step forward and say, look, we're here for you. There's every single one of these things we care about and we ought to be involved in. And listen, there's candidates, I'm not gonna lie, there's candidates. I sat next to a candidate in a debate recently. I won't say, well, whatever, it doesn't matter. He was like, this is not the job of the state party. The job of the state party is getting candidates elected and raising money. And it's like, okay, so yes, those are jobs of the state party. But why would you not want a state party that's saying, we're raising money for candidates, we're getting candidates elected, and we're out advancing our issues, protecting people from the state laws coming down. We're getting out the vote. We're getting young Republicans involved. I mean, to me, to say that's not the role of the state party is just so naive. The role of the state party should be everything that has to do with becoming a redder Colorado, period.
Yeah, agreed. And growing
Exactly.
Republicans is 100% what we need to be doing. And to miss that opportunity, I've literally watched our county boards not want to support the young Republicans group at the college. Like, well, what are they going to do for us? I'm like, they're our future. We have to invest in them. So why wouldn't we give them $1,000 or
Yeah,
$5,000? And it's the old guard that pushes back on that. So we have to find a way around that to be able to support these young people and get them what they need to blossom, because they're the seed that's planted there now at the university, and we need to help that grow. So I just want to make sure we get a candidate that's really going to be involved and come to controversial speaker events that are there and stand with our young Republicans so they know that the party has their back. That's what I'm asking for.
definitely. And I look forward to that. And I mean, hey, you're a young Republican yourself. So I look forward to giving you a call on day one and saying, all right, come on, let's go. Let's figure this out.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, Hope. You have your hand up.
Yeah, so to that point, actually, and we need to make sure that we really back whoever it is, right? That is going to be the state chair. I guess in regards to like any type of, like here in La Plata County, I am on the western slope. We do have Fort Lewis College, which is a very, very, very liberal college. We definitely had somebody come down here to try to get Turning Point USA chapter here as well. However, it fell apart because of the Trump campaign and everything like that. So I'm going to be reaching out to that young lady again here shortly, regardless if I win vice chair or not. Um, but I wanted to talk a little bit about we do need to start bringing controversial speakers to Colorado. And to that point, that your state party, your current leadership has already began that process, right? Um, in December, we ended up actually getting a message from the Bannon team that we had been trying to pursue him for the last 2 years to try to come out for for actually the Kerry Lake um, centennial dinner. And when we got the go, we ended up booking as Darcy had mentioned, we ended up booking up at the Denver Tech Center. It was on Reddit. The link got leaked, and Antifa was literally calling these hotels and saying, we are going to um, disturb, I'm going to say that very politely, but we are going to disturb your guys' centennial dinner. We're going to park cars in the middle of the street. So that hotel backed out on us. We ended up scrambling and trying to find a place in Colorado Springs, and we did locate and secured that venue. That venue was the Antlers. We were in contract with them. They broke the contract because that got leaked again, somehow, some way. And we ended up turning around. And thank you for Darcy for actually connecting Dave Williams to your person because we have been able to secure that venue. But there's still a lot of negotiating going on because, as we know, Antifa, the radical left, is not going to stop. And so we are making sure that that venue is secure as possible. It's not going to be the gala that we want, that we wanted. But again, we pulled together as a team to do this. There's been 6 of us that have been working literally the last 24 hours, 7 days a week, trying to get this resolved. And when they cancel us once, we're gonna end up putting it back together and doing it again. Your current chairman, is still talking to the venue, trying to make sure that security is the number one thing, and on his list right now is your guys' safety. And that's what I wanted to articulate, is regardless of who's in leadership, they need to be bold. They need to have the backbone to stand up to all the things that we just did in the last 3 months. So I just wanted to put that out there, that I know there's a lot of things circulating. And that's why we had to keep the venue very close to our vest. We had to escalate some of the things to the FBI based on what was said on Reddit. That's how bad things got. So I just want you guys to know that we are working diligently. And I hope that the next leadership, and whoever it is, will continue working diligently and continue to support conservative values and speakers that may not be, you know, the norm, because we do need to have those speakers come out. We do need to have Turning Point at every single college. We do need to get into the high schools. So I appreciate the conversation on that, because you're absolutely right, Mark. We need to get the younger generation involved. We need to have a Turning Point at every single college. And that is something that I think whoever it is needs to really focus on, because we need to pass the baton to somebody. And it's definitely not going to be me the next, 6 to 8 years trying to do this. We need to focus on that now.
Agreed. Thank you, Hope.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, Darcy. If anybody else has any questions for Darcy,
I have a question. Can you hear me?
yes.
Okay. I don't know. I'm really old but new on Twitter, and I'm from Clear Creek County, and had the privilege of uh, being at the Mountain Republicans. I call it the barn in Evergreen this last week, and Heidi Ganal did a great presentation of what she's got in the works. And so I just can't connect. Here's a person who's had visibility, and she seems to have something going on. And we keep talking about things that we're going to do. And so, is there anything I mean, do you have thoughts about connecting up with her, working in tandem, or? And then my other question is, can you please address this bad email that came out
Sure.
about you, Darcy?
Yeah, so I'd be glad to. So as far as working with Heidi goes, we'll continue to work with Heidi in tandem, side by side, like the state party has done. Heidi's given a lot of good presentations, like she did at the barn at Evergreen, and her contributions with Rocky Mountain Voice and some of the interviews she's done have been really, really great. There's not an infrastructure there, I will say. So that is something that the state GOP has to build itself. That is something that if we don't build it ourselves, we'll be in a disastrous situation again, possibly. It can't be subject to another company. This has to be something that we pass on from GOP administration to GOP administration. And it has to be something that's trusted, proven, and it works. There's other GOPs that have really, really good infrastructures. And that's exactly what we're going to implement here. And then as far as the negative email goes, I'm glad you brought that up. I addressed it earlier too on my Zoom town hall. And listen, that's all they've got. So if this is what other Republicans are coming at your Colorado GOP chair candidates with, then I think that that speaks not only to their character, but to the state of the party and the fact that, again, that's all they've got on me, because nobody can say Darcy doesn't do the work. Nobody can say Darcy's not honest. Nobody can say I haven't fought for the kids for all of these years. So all they can do is send emails that say, oh, look at this old mugshot. Guess what? 7 out of 9 congressional candidates in CD4 had been arrested. Show me, as Joel Ullman says, show me somebody with clean hands and I'll show you somebody that has done nothing. So I don't know who we are as human beings or as a party if the conversation about me shifts for very long at all, other than a couple seconds, from the work that I've been doing across this state, the beautiful children that I've raised as a single mom, the values I've fought for in this community. If the conversation shifts for more than one hot second to stuff that happened in my past that's really not that exciting, we'll have a statement on that on the website for those who don't know this about me by now. Promise you it's not that exciting. Then we need to get to a better place as a party, because that was a disgusting email. I stand tall in
Oh, it
my
was.
values and I know who I am, and I hope that the person who sent that email does too, but I can guarantee you they don't.
Yeah. Thank you very much for addressing that.
Thank you.
Yeah, I I just needed to have something said about that particular issue, and also thank you for the input with Heidi, because that was a missing link in having been exposed to what she's up to, and and what we're going through, because yeah,
Yeah, I
us
understand that.
us smaller, us teeny tiny smaller with only 3 votes, we really could use some more help.
Definitely. I understand that. I look forward to working with you, and thank you for your really thoughtful questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Shauna.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I just want to echo everything that Darcy just said, but I'm not Darcy. So, um, I mean, where are all these people talking all this trash when she's working for Moms for Liberty and doing amazing jobs all over the state and fighting for children, fighting for our values, fighting for us, all the work that she's put in? Where were these people then? I mean, this is a nasty email, and it's just nasty, dirty campaigning. And say it while she's, on Fox News talking about Moms for Liberty. You know what I mean? I can't even. It's just awful.
Thank you, Shauna. I appreciate you.
Well, and I guarantee you, Shauna, the person that sent that also is somebody out there talking about unity and how we need to bring the party together, right? I mean, that's just how this garbage works.
Exactly. Exactly.
But like I told Darcy earlier, it's like when you're a threat to them, this is all they can do, because they can't attack you on the issues, right? They don't want to have a factual debate about anything. They just want to destroy your character, try to destroy your character. And look, in today's politics, people are fed up with it, and we've seen that in the last election. And
Yeah.
nobody's perfect. We all have crap that's gone on in our past, and that defines us on who we are today. And if you've taken those incidences and you've made your life better from it, then great. I mean, we don't have a problem propping up Jelly Roll and saying what a great role model he is today after everything that he's done in his past, right? I mean, he doesn't want to be defined. So it's like, quit picking and choosing here on who you think's a good person or not a good person, because, if that's all you have, then you don't have anything.
Yeah.
And that just means Darcy's a better candidate and that she's leading.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's not, and sometimes that's, it's tough to remember at times, but like I know who I am. And like I said, look at my children, look at my community, look at the things I fought for. So if you've got any more questions about that stuff, like I said, it'll be on the website soon. And if anybody can, ask you about that stuff, it's really easy to direct them over to the site. But I think the rest of the week, I hope that we're focused more on, the money that we're raising, the money that I'm raising, and all these great things that are about to happen in the next administration when I'm chair. And it's going to be a great centennial dinner on Friday. I look forward to seeing all of you guys. And then hopefully, God willing, Saturday, I'll be your next Colorado GOP chair. I can't think of anything else I'd rather do. There's been a lot of calls and situations where people are like, oh, I can't believe you'd want that job. It's such a thankless job. And, my answer is like, there's nothing else I'd rather do. I love seeing you guys across the state, giving you hugs. I love that you contact me with your issues and we figure it out and we fight for Colorado and we stand for the kids. And I want nothing more than to serve you for the next 2 years and help turn Colorado red again. So I really thank all of you for being here tonight. And I think the honest questions about that email today. I appreciate you guys. And I know that as Republicans, you're going to continue to stand by me because that was just those ridiculous attacks. And I'm sure you'll get more. There'll probably be one, Friday night at 7 a.m. or Friday at 7 a.m. Let's be honest. And you guys know what that is now and you know me. So let's just go into this meeting and vote for me for chair. And I'm not going to let you down. I think you guys know that by now. So thank you.
Yes, thank you, Darcy. And I'll just say if anybody else has any last things, then just pop in. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and close this out. And I appreciate everybody being on here. I think this will be the last one we do here unless something comes up. But check out Darcy's website, Darcy for Chair. That's darcyforchair.com. She's been on a lot of media here lately, and so all of her interviews are uploaded to YouTube. That link back from her website to YouTube, so you can see that. It's going to be a great week, Darcy. We've got a lot in the books going on, and we'll also have a statement posted on your website later this evening about the email that went out. So I appreciate everybody being on. And Darcy, thank you for your commitment to the Republican Party. And we all know you're going to do great things as our next chair.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Darcy.
Thank you.